Hi, it's Steve Simmons, and this is a StatMaster training video, Managing Hole Details, Part 1. This is a two-part series. Part 1 is going to just talk about the design of the system related to how you enter scores, and then in Part 2 we'll actually get into specifics related to how to enter different holes and make all that stuff happen for you. By now, most of you have certainly set up your golf courses that you're going to be entering your scores on. You've established your goals, and you've gone through the training tutorial about how to enter a round, so I won't have to spend a lot of time there. What you want to do is, once you've got those done and you're ready to go, now's the time. This is where you actually start using StatMaster to enter your scores and your numbers, and then so that it can tell you and report back to you what your statistical categories look like. So the way you actually do that is that you come in and create a round, and so we're going to add a new one, and we're going to give it a name of test, and then the course is going to be Sonterra Blue. And then you can click on the hole and edit, or you can just double click, and I just tend to double click here, and what it does is it brings up the hole detail panel for you. Now you'll notice that there are several fields that are automatically populated for you because you've already set those up in your courses. We have the hole number, which has already been populated, so it brings us to hole number 1. And then after we get done with this, entering our data, if we want to, we can basically hit this button right here, and it will advance us to hole number 2, which I just did. You notice now that we're up here to number 2, or go back to number 1, or we can enter a number, hole number 3, and go, and you'll notice that it's now on the 3rd hole, or we can jump back. And so anyway, we're back at hole number 1, and we have the hole number that's automatically populated for us by StatMaster. We have the par, we have the length of the hole, and the handicap. So let's talk about the rest of this panel and what it means to you. There are two fields up here, the first of which is the greens and regulation. That is a user defined or user automatically populated field. You won't have to do anything there. What happens is when we're down here telling it what we've done, then it will know whether or not we had a green in regulation, and we'll get to that in more detail later in this video, and certainly in the second part of this video series in part 2. The other thing is that it has a conversion number here, or conversion box, so that if you miss the green and you still make par, it will keep track of your up and down conversions for pitches, chips, and sand saves. So that's where that's going to, and you won't have to do anything there. It will automatically calculate that for you. This field right here is going to be an accumulative score field, so every time we enter a stroke, it's going to add 1 to the box there, and then when we get done, then it'll know that the total score for that hole was whatever we ended up doing. Then we have two sets of two areas that we're going to kind of keep track of. Actually, there's 3. We've got our full shots that are comprised of these categories right through here. We have our short game area, and this will look a little bit different in version 2, but for right now we've just got it set to just distance to the pin, and we'll talk about that shortly. And then we have our pre-shot information over here in this category. So on the full shots, we want to be able to tell the system what kind of shot we hit. So the options are a tee shot, fairway approach, recovery, and then our short game are sand, pitch, chip, and putt. And we'll get into that a lot more in detail as well in the second video. We want to be able to tell it what kind of iron or club we use. Now, one of the things that you're going to need to do is be a little creative here, because if you carry a driver and a 4-wood, or then you'll want to, you'll just need to remember that I don't have a 3 wood, I use a 4 wood, or I don't have a 5 wood, I use a 7 wood. And I don't carry 2 and 3 irons, or 2, 3, and 4 irons. I have a 2 iron and a rescue club, a 4 iron rescue club. We wanted to limit the size of this dialog box, so we put it in here this way. I have a 2 rescue and a 4 rescue. So I would enter, if I hit my 2 rescue, I would use the 2 iron. And if I hit my 4 rescue, I would hit the 4 iron. And then if I, on a personal note, if I had a 4 wood, I would use that instead of the, and I would just indicate that was a 5 wood instead of the 4 wood. If we have enough user requests to change that and add a lot more stuff to it, we will. It just gets this box becomes cumbersome, and so we wanted to limit to as many as we could. There's a fairway check mark box here in version 1. If from the tee you hit the fairway, then you'll check that box. If you don't hit the fairway, then you'll leave it unchecked. If you're going into the green, you'll want to tell us when you get the ball on the green, so that the system will be able to tell you whether that was a green in regulation or not. So even if you're down here 4 or 5 shots down on a par 3, you can go ahead and say, okay, I'm finally on the green, check the box, and it will know that it's not a green. It will know that in order to be a green in regulation, it has to be on the first shot on a par 3, the first or second shot on a par 4, or the first, second, or third shot on a par 5. So that's what that will be right there, is for to tell us when you get the ball on the green. If I'm if I'm on a tee and I miss the fairway, my options are left or right. So if you miss the fairway, then you'll tell us left, or miss it right. And then if you're coming into the green, then you'll tell us that I missed it left, right, short, or long. Now this isn't really that meaningful in version 1, but in version 2 that will become a lot more meaningful, because we're going to have a whole shot game pattern and accuracy module that will tell you how well you're doing in terms of if you're only hitting 50% of the greens and you're missing 50%, then how are you missing them? How does that break out? And so that will become important. If you miss the green in regulation, then the system knows to look to your third shot. If you're on a par 4 and you miss the green in regulation on your second shot, then on the third shot it's going to be looking to see how well, or what you did on your what the next shot you played was. If it was a pitch, a chip, or a sand shot, then this distance to the pin is designed to tell you, pick one of these ranges, and if it's a pitch, chip, or sand shot, this number is in yards. If it's a putt, then this number is in feet. So if let's say I'm on the green and it's my first putt, and my first putt is 50 feet, then I would select that. If I'm chipping from the just off the green and I'm 10 yards away, then I would use that capability there. This area over here is our pre-shot routine. If you don't have a pre-shot routine, we encourage you to do that. You're only going to be as good as your pre-shot routine. All great golfers have a very good pre-shot routine. If you're curious about, or you don't have one and you'd like to develop a pre-shot routine specific to your game, we would encourage you to check out our Making Practice Pay Off ebook. It will tell you everything you need to know about developing and practicing a very solid pre-shot routine to make you a better player. If you do have a routine, it's important to try to keep track of whether you're using it or not. I can tell you on a personal note that typically, when I don't have a very good round of golf, my pre-shot numbers are bad, meaning I don't use my pre-shot routine consistently that day, and when I do, the quality of my pictures and my visualization and so on are not good. I'm distracted, I'm losing my concentration, I'm not seeing and visualizing the way I should. So what we want to do is we want to be able to keep track of this, so that if you use your pre-shot routine, you can come in here and check the box that says yes on that hole or that shot. I did use a pre-shot routine, and then it will show me, it'll give me 10 is practically a perfect routine, and 1 is, well, I did it, but it was basically kind of going through some motions. It really didn't mean anything. Matter of fact, I didn't. If I have a 5-step routine, I probably only used one of the steps, and it wasn't very good at that. So 1 is not very good. 10 is practically a perfect routine, and it's very subjective. You just kind of have to think about that, but the system will keep track of the quality of your routines and how well you're doing. So the other thing we have up here is we have the ability to delete holes, and you really won't want to use these. Once you get into this module, then it's going to kind of keep track of everything for you. Once you get to a point of leaving, then you can click save and then close, and that will take care of that for you. So what we're going to do in the second module is we're actually going to get in and actually enter some holes and show you how to best use this feature. So I will see you in video 2.